Hello and welcome to another video. I'm not out today, as you can see. I'm in the garden, so something a bit different. I'm going to give you a run through of the Zephyros Compact one from Wild Country. I've had this tent for about a year now. I absolutely love it, but it isn't without its flaws. So I'll show you how to set it up and give you an idea of what it does come with, and more importantly what it doesn't come with that I would prefer. So let's get into it. So very quickly, just going to give you a run through over some of the specs. I'll go into more detail as we look through it. It's a one-person tent, weighs in at 1.65 kilos. It is billed as a 3-season tent. You could possibly push it to 4 in UK conditions, but I'll kind of explain why as we go through things. So just to give you an idea of pack size, I think it's 80 centimeters by 30 centimeters comes, but it would go a lot smaller if you separate the pack out, just to keep the poles and then the fly sheet can just pack down into a stuff sack or anything like that. I don't generally tend to do that because I don't really need the space in my bag for it, although I am going to be planning a few winter camps, so I probably would get it packed down a little bit smaller, just so I've got more room in my pack for warmer clothes and things like that. So we'll get it out and see what it looks like. So go through the poles first. There's 3 poles altogether. Now it is a hooped tent, so it does mean that it's not freestanding. So the 3 poles we have, there is a main pole, which is the one that goes through the middle of the hoop. Now this is 8.5mm Superflex alloy. Now the other 2 poles are 8mm Superflex alloy. Now these are for the ends, which I'll show you obviously when I pitch it up, just to give you that little bit of extra height at the head and foot end. Now, first good point of this tent are the pegs. They are V-shaped aluminium, Wild Country's own design pegs, and it comes with enough, which not a lot of tents do. They'll give you enough just to get the basic fly out, but not enough for things like the guy lines, just to keep the stability in the wind. Whereas this one, you've got all the pegs that you need in the pack. You just peg all the 4 corners out first. So take the larger pole and feed it through the hoop in the middle. Either end of the main pole comes with these little fittings here, which you fit into the eyelet at either end. So that gives you your basic structure. Now, one piece of advice I would give is make sure you check each corner before you start putting these up. Sometimes I reposition the pegs just to get the fly here a little bit tauter. Again, I think it's just one of those things that you kind of notice the more you're using this tent. There's little ways of getting the fly sheet a bit tauter, which hopefully means you don't get such a loud night in the wind. So the difference with these end poles is they've got a fitting at one end, and then the other end is flat. Difference being there's an eyelet for that, which fits in at the bottom, and then that slides into a little sleeve in the fly. First thing you do is find the little sleeve on the inside of the tent. Your flat end fits in there, and then into the eyelet. The main thing here is making sure that this has got enough tension to pull the fly tight. Now, one thing that I noticed with mine, whether it's a sort of, not a design flaw, but more of a manufacturing flaw, is the hoops for the pegs at either end were not far enough up the guy, so when you pulled that down, you literally hit the loop and couldn't get any more tension in it. So what I did was move the loop a little bit further along the guy rope. Easy to do, you just literally untie it. I don't know if you can see on the camera, but you'll know when you see it. So I'll get it nice and tight, and then because the loop is moved further down here, it means you've got so much more room to get that really tight, get some good tension on it, and then you've got a nice tight fly. Now, another thing that I like about this tent is that at either end you've got these little windows, which you've got a flap inside to just a bit of velcro to cover it, just for a bit of extra ventilation. So that's one side done. Let's go and do the other. Only other thing to do now is just go around and tighten each corner up. Now the fly sheet is 68D Stormtex ripstop polyester with a 4000mm hydrostatic head. If you've seen any videos of me camping on this channel, then you'll know everyone's wet, so it's definitely had a good test of that. Now, as I said at the beginning, this is kind of billed as a 3-season tent, but I think you could possibly quite manage it as a 4-season if you get it right. I mean, I've just done it quickly here for the video, but you can get this fly almost tight to the floor. You can see on this side it is a little bit closer, but yeah, with a bit of tweaking you could get that down low, and that would stop the that chilly wind coming in. So that's the outside. Let's have a look what the inside's like. And straight away we come to one of the first negatives. Not my biggest bugbear with the tent, but it's the door. Now that does count for the inner and outer door as well. I've got issues with both, but with the outer, I'm not sure why they've done it. I don't know if it's just a case of trying to make sure there's not anything stitched to the outer that they'd have to seal, but there's nowhere to roll the door, there's no clips or anything to keep that up. So what they've done is there's a little toggle or buckle on the end of the door here, and if you look inside, there's a buckle on the inner. So what that means is you've got to fold the door back, buckle it on there, but what it does mean is you kind of got this flapping about, and it genuinely gets in the way of the entrance. Next bugbear is the inner door. Now it's great that it's so big, it's the full length of the tent, but because it zips either end in a sort of arch, it does mean that you are left with the door dangling on the floor. It has got toggles on the inside which you can clip it away, but it just feels like it's still in the way. And if you've got muddy boots or a muddy arse,
then it's going to get dirty. Back to stuff I do like about this tent. It is pitch inner and outer together, which I think in the UK is essential. There's plenty of tents out there that would pitch inner first, but I wouldn't even touch them. Now, I mean, that obviously is a personal preference, but I just think in the UK, the last thing I'd want to be doing in wet, damp conditions is pitching my tent with the inner that gets wet before I've got a chance to put the outer on. So that is a deal breaker for me. It's got to pitch inner and outer first, which this does. On to the next thing I really like about this tent. It's the size of the vestibule. Now, at its widest point, it's 50 centimeters. Now, obviously, it does taper down due to the design of the tent. But when you consider that the Zephyros Compact 2, which is obviously the two-man version, that is similar design, and the vestibule in that is only 30 centimeters wide at its widest point, and you've got to get 2 lots of gear in there. Then that's a big plus for me on this tent. Plenty of room for me. I'll put my bag generally down that end there, and then I'll keep all this area here free for, you know, cooking or anything like that, which I often end up doing in the tent, especially in the UK when it's raining. So moving inside, next negative is the height. I am just shy of 6 foot, so yeah, it's a little bit of a struggle. If I were to sit bolt upright, then I'm pretty much touching the outer fly. So I know you're not going to get a lot of height for a single man tent. They do generally tend to be smaller, more compact, lighter, for obvious reasons, unless you're looking at, you know, like a trekking pole style tent, or if you're going bigger budget. One man tents, it's kind of one of those things you have to deal with. Overall, the space inside, you know, a lot of people say that you know, these types of tents, these tunnel tents, it's like a coffin. I don't feel that at all, if I'm being honest. I can fit my mat in here. I have got the thermarest, which I'll blow up for you and give you an idea of the size. But the outer tent is 220 centimeters, the outer fly end to end, and the inner is 200, which, as I said, I'm just, you know, and that's cock under 6 foot, and it is plenty of room for me. And because of the way it's designed, the fact that it tapers to a point behind me, it does mean you've got a little bit of extra room for any, you know, spare clothes or anything like that you've got when you're in there in the night. So yeah, I'll get the thermarest set up and you'll get an idea of the sizes. So that's the thermarest in. Now this is the NeoAir X-Lite wide version. I can't remember the exact dimensions, so I'll put them up on the screen just to give an idea. But as you can see, we've got a little bit of room at either end, but because the tent, as I said, tapers off inside, you have got a little bit of extra room. When I'm camping, that's generally where I would put my spare clothes, any warm gear if I do get chilly in the night, or if I get warm, take it off and put it there. So it's handy to have that little bit of extra room inside rather than leaving anything out in the vestibule where it could get damp or anything like that. On the subject of damp, that brings me to ventilation. Now, either end of the tent, as I mentioned when I was putting it up, you've got a little mesh. Now, I'm not sure if you can see it there, but it's a good example of the door. But you can cover it up like that, and the inner has also got a mesh window on it to help with the ventilation. My next bugbear with this tent, it isn't massive, but you'd expect a tent of this sort of price quality, especially the fact that it comes from Terra Nova. You'd think they'd have thought of this kind of stuff, and it's just a pocket on the inside. There is no pocket anywhere on the inside of this tent. It's not a massive thing, if I'm being honest, because you know, I generally tend to just chuck stuff at the side or anything. I mean, my phone, I've got a little pocket in my sleeping bag that goes in there, but it would just be nice to be able to put the little things away tidy, things like the GoPro. So yeah, it's definitely not a deal breaker, but just something I prefer with this tent. So my last little negative about the tent is the tub, or the absence of one. I mean, the tub in this, you could probably measure it in millimeters rather than inches. But as I said before, you can get the outer nice and low to the ground, so the likelihood of having that rain coming into the tub is not really an issue. The material itself is a 6080 Aquastop 5000 millimeter hydrostatic head. Again, I've had no issues with it all the times I've camped. Again, it's had plenty of tests in the rain, and I've never had an issue with any water. So that's my thoughts on the Wild Country Zephyros Compact one by Terra Nova. I'd love to know in the comments if you've got this tent and what you think about it, and if you found any of the little niggles that I have, or if you've got any other tricks about getting it taut. I'd love to hear about it. Now, just for information, this tent retails at £200. I did pick this up for 130 in Cotswold Outdoors. I've not really had any major issues with the tent at all. I said, even despite the small niggles, it is a fantastic tent for the money, and I couldn't recommend it enough, considering what you're getting: weight, pack size, durability, quality of the materials. So thank you very much for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed my ramblings on this thing. I'm hoping to do a lot more stuff like this on the channel in the coming months. Just a couple of reviews about the gear that I use, what I find good, what I find bad. I will be open and honest about everything, because let's face it, I'm a small channel, I don't get anything for free. All this I pay for myself. Unless anybody's watching from any camping supply shops want to give me some stuff, I'll review it and keep it. But thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.